Hey, what's up everyone? Frank Valkyria, welcome to the channel. If you're new, usually we do reaction to music and share my own music and stuff. But we also go through some news when it's really important or, exceptional. And of course, coronavirus. It's exceptional. It's everywhere, even here in the Netherlands. Already 18 cases. And it's going everywhere, in New York as well. My sister lives there, my family lives there, my mom is there with my sister, my nephews. So obviously, you look into this thing trying to be reasonable and educate on whether it's, what's going on here for real. So you try to gather whatever information from official sources, and of course the media, they're marching in just, oh yes, 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 it's gonna be like a month of, oh my god, this is the first case in the highest rating and all of that. And people get scared and people go in panic. And I'm asking myself a lot of questions which I would like to have answered. So I just want to go with you here over some numbers of this official counter. Let's see if we can do this here. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And here we have the counter, official counter, 89,861. The deaths, they've increased to 3,069. Rest in peace, all of you wonderful souls. And the recovered 45,636, which is beautiful to see the number in green, because it gives that sense of we get through this. 33,000 cases in mild condition, almost 34,000 cases in mild condition, and 7,374 in serious or critical. And I wish them a speedy recovery. Hopefully they will go back into milder condition and overcome it. This is something that, to me, first of all, I hope this is quite accurate, but at the same time I have questions. I have questions regarding how are those calculations made? Are there some kind of preconceived tablature, mathematical equations or peculiar algorithm which they calculate based on past epidemic of flus, so they sort of daily calculate the spread, so those questions I'm asking myself to also understand how accurate those numbers are, and how really fast this thing is going to spread. We have read, and I've read, I'm sure you know also yourself, that this thing seems to be 20 times faster than the normal flu, like spreading 20 times more than the normal flu. And the mortality is around 2% or higher. Most of the cases here, if you see the mortality, it's mostly the age, it's over 60 to 80, but of course it happened in all category. I just want to, if you click on death rate here, let's see if I saw before that, where does it say? Oh, this is very important. This is very important. Coronavirus death rate is around 2%. In the past, the SARS was 9.6%. MERS was 34%, which is huge. Swine flu 002, which is actually beautiful. That was so low. But I think there were way less death regarding MERS and SARS. But just the percentage of people infected and the people dying, of course, was much higher. So let's take an example data. What is this? No, this is something completely different. But anyway, I got all kinds of questions. And I just hope that those numbers are accurate, or perhaps even getting, I don't know. I don't want to say they could get worse, or they could get better, because really I don't understand how they're calculated. Is there people every day in hospital counting the people coming in or whatever? There must be some type of of recording those things, or making sort of it's just how do you call them, those kind of scenarios, based on mathematical equations or whatever. So it's really hard to tell. But I see that people tend to panic. We tend to panic, of course, because even if the mortality rate it's not higher than those other that we have described, like MERS and SARS, of course we are scared. We are scared that, you know, we get infected and we don't survive. And people already, my sister told me that in New York they already finished the masks. Those masks, not the normal mask, because don't use those, they're useless. You know, the surgical mask, they're just good for people which they have a flu and to keep the germs within them so that when they sneeze or whatever. But if you're healthy and you put those like surgical masks on or whatever, they don't block the particle to get in. You need to use a specific mask, actually, that it's called here we go, it says like N95 respirator, sorry. I don't know how expensive this stuff is getting, but yeah, I was checking those things also for the sake of understanding everything. And again, if the numbers are gonna, if the way of testing is gonna get better, probably those percentage of mortality might decrease. We don't know. I read somewhere, and I was watching interviews about doctors saying like they might have not included all the patients which have had very mild symptoms or almost to none, so there is less cases sort of confirmed of infected people. So that's also a reason why perhaps we don't have specifically the number like really well. So anyway, zombie apocalypse, I have no clue. I think we have gone through a lot in our like 500,000 years on this planet. And we've gone through a lot, and also in times where we didn't have the medical advances that we have today. The flu of 1918 in the States made a lot of death. The Spanish flu made a lot of death everywhere. And you just wonder how this thing is going to evolve. When is the peak gonna, you know, is it really gonna infect like 3/3 of the population or half of the population? Like really, can it affect that many people, like 3 billion people in a year or so? Is it true that when there is a spring coming, there must be an incident that slows down the bacteria because of better days or sunnier days, you know, like the exposure that the virus exposing to ultraviolet usually, you know, it gets disinfected or dies. But I also read that it might slow down but come back in autumn, you know, so we have to get prepared. But at this point it's good to gain time, you know, that people have time, like laboratory, they have time to devise a vaccine, perhaps, you know, for next year. And I read that could take up to 18 months or something. So whatever time we have, it's great. The more time we have that this thing perhaps slows down through the spring and summer, you know, will be helpful to work on a vaccine. And again, when you look at those things, it also makes you just also have, it's just hard not to see this in a global sense, and starting also to have a different vision of how humanity has to evolve. When something of this proportion both affects people, even if it's not affecting people, even if it's not affecting the population yet, you know, this is just the number of cases so far that we know of. We don't know there are more, but anyway, this is a small fraction of a very, very small fraction of the people on this planet. But if it's really gonna start to spread everywhere, then you understand like where society has to move. You know, like events like this, they just make secondary everything else. You know, like economy, like borders, countries, ethnicities, religious belief, and costumes, all of those things, they just become absolutely secondary, because a virus, it's a reminder that everybody gets it, because we are all human, we are all the same. So in that sense, it's a very weird way of acknowledging that we are in this together. And and perhaps it could be a catalyst to speed up the way we communicate with each other, the way we need to make decisions with each other, the way we invest into research. Instead of funneling money into things which, they just benefit whatever. I don't want to go into the whole thing like rich, poor, whatever, but it's a fact, that even the rich will get affected by this. Even the billionaire son or whatever can die of this, or daughter can die of this, or can be affected, or the billionaire himself or herself can just, you take your 50 billion, you take your 90 billion, and you just leave it here. Ciao, ciao. See you next time, whatever. So it's really a reminder of how everything is not in our control, and when nature, because this is also part of nature, is like a way of iterations of nature, like strange way of creating balance out of distraction. I don't know. This is obviously has happened for a very long time, and it will continue to happen. So this is a reminder of how everything it's not in control, and how we should probably focus more on investing on research, on the things that really truly matter. I mean, I don't know if really people joined forces, if they could speed up this thing instead of already, for instance, like, there are limitations of countries. Perhaps every laboratory wants to work independently, or just with affiliates where they share the profit if they come up with a vaccine that they can stamp a patent on and sell it to the public. You know what I mean? So there is also those kind of things. Masks are obviously, like in those circumstances, masks are for sale. Like probably they go higher in prices, and then you wonder, like should those things happen? The speculations happen all the time on the shoulder of people, like being in panic, or potentially going, like potentially being affected, or dying. So it's really like a reminder of all the things good and bad about our society, and are in those moments that I truly wonder, when are we gonna wake up? When are we gonna wake up to a level where we truly understand that the guy and the girl from the Philippines are just as valuable and real and connected and just brotherly and familiar to us as anybody else, and us for them, or somebody in Ghana or whatever. What I'm trying to say is that we are all people. We are all exactly the same, just exactly the same. And we're just scrambling and running around, trying to amass that sense of fake security, and then something like this comes along, and it just shows how potentially ruthless nature can be. And the only thing that can save us is our ability of learning, exploring, manipulating in the best way knowledge to create results to overcome things of this matter, of this magnitude. I mean, if you look at, for instance, we have gone through a lot, but with the Black Plague, which was caused by a bacteria, and of course at the time we had no antibiotics, which could have just, boom, and the whole thing right away. So, and perhaps in 50 years, 100 years, the humans of that time will look back at viruses, and we will have a better understanding of all of this, and we'll go like, wow, people died, like 3,000 people died of the coronaviruses because they didn't know this, and that. And hopefully, I truly hope we get to that point way quicker. And I think we could get to that point way quicker if, instead of just, everybody looking after for themselves in terms of research, in terms of learning, in terms of spreading knowledge and gathering a society, like building a society that is focused on finding the truth, creating the well-being of every human through fact, science, and truth, instead of just economy. And you know, don't misunderstand me. I'm not doing any socialist talk here or whatever, because I know that in the US they get scared. But I'm truly talking about a different paradigm of shifting humanity into something else, that it's sustainable, and truly see in the mirror what is relevant, because economy and money and commerce is all good and it's all fine, because, you know, services needs to be exchanged, and it's been working, you know, it's created well-being, and it's served the purpose, but it's not the best way. Certainly it's not the best way. And the more we go forward, the more, you know, like machine and things help us to produce this and that, the more there's a possibility that humanity can focus on what matters the most. The new generation, instead of being like a bunch of idiots, including me, for instance, you know, that have little knowledge. I mean, idiots in the way of like truly being ignorant on so many things. Perhaps the next generation can be raised truly to explore the true meaning of existence, life, going through science, understanding, you know, like how to evolve through knowledge. And that can create well-being, because it's always engineering, science, medicine, discovering, you know, like of venturing inside in the human soul, that it's going to help us overcome all of those things. You know, it's not going to be another franchise. It's not going to be another billionaire that with a good idea managed to get money out of 4 billion people or something, you know. It's always the people looking for the truth that will propel this humanity forward. And perhaps this is just one thing that can teach us, that can show us that that's the direction of the future. Anyway, little rant here. I hope you sticked around all the way. Just a little bit of info for you and me, also for me, just to make sense of all of this, because of course I don't want to panic and I don't want to be reckless. I just want to be somewhere that I understand what I have to believe and how I have to behave. And I wish you all to be safe. Use the right precautions of washing your hands whenever you can. Perhaps for a period stay away from too many crowded places. And yeah, always spread love and compassion. See you later.